Han wiped his sweaty palms on his pants as the transport ship docked at Galactic Academy Station. Through the viewport, he could see the massive ring-shaped structure gleaming against the backdrop of stars. This was it, the most prestigious school in the known universe, and he was the first human ever admitted. "Nervous?" asked the pilot, a four-armed Jiraxian with skin the color of copper. "A little," Han admitted. "I've never been off Earth before," the pilot laughed. "Well, you're about to meet species from 50 different star systems. Just remember to breathe." Easy for him to say, Han thought. The Jiraxian's respiratory system could process 6 different atmospheres. Humans weren't nearly so versatile. The foyer airlock hissed open, and Han stepped through into the Academy's main reception area. The gravity felt strange, a bit too light, making him feel bouncy with each step. The air tasted odd, too, slightly sweet and thin. A tall, willowy figure with pale green skin approached. "Welcome to Galactic Academy. I am Administrator Lim. You must be Han, our new exchange student from Sol 3. "Just, Earth is fine," Han said, extending his hand before remembering that handshakes weren't universal. He awkwardly lowered it. "Earth," Lim repeated with a nod. "Your admission has created quite a stir. We've never had a student from an unmodified Class 4 world before." Han frowned. "Unmodified? Most civilized species terraform their planets once they develop the technology, create ideal living conditions." Lim gestured around. "The Academy maintains Earth-standard gravity and atmosphere in your quarters, though it's been challenging to replicate exactly. Our engineers find your planet's conditions extreme." Han wanted to ask more questions, but Lim was already walking away, motioning for him to follow. "Your orientation begins in 1 hour. Your personal effects have been sanitized and delivered. To your room. The rest of today's Earth class is in Hall C." "Earth class?" "Students from your planet," Lim clarified, looking confused at Han's question. "But I'm the only human here." Lim stopped walking. "Ah, I see the confusion. Earth is the category for terrestrial evolved species from gravity wells exceeding 0.8 standard units. You have 3 classmates from other heavy worlds, though none quite as severe as yours." Han followed Lim through curving hallways filled with students of all shapes and sizes. Some had tentacles, others wings, and a few seemed to float rather than walk. Many stopped to stare at him as he passed. "Here we are," Lim said finally, stopping at a door marked with symbols Han couldn't read. The door slid open to reveal a classroom with just 3 students inside. They all looked up at his entrance. "This is Han, from Sol 3. He will be joining your Earth class." The 3 students looked at Han with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright suspicion. None of them looked human, but they all had roughly humanoid forms. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. That's where the similarities ended. "I'll leave you to get acquainted," Lim said, and vanished down the hall. "So," said one of the students, rising from her seat. Her skin was a translucent blue, and Han could see the faint outline of organs beneath. "A real human. I'm Somi, from Nutera." "Nice to meet you," Han said, relieved by her friendly tone. "That's June," she continued, pointing to a student with metallic blue skin and 6 fingers on each hand. "He's from Valaxi Prime." June gave a curt nod, but didn't speak. "And the quiet one is Tai, from the cryogeny system." Tai was tall and thin, with pale skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. He looked at Han with obvious disdain. "We've heard about your planet," Tai said finally. "Primitive technology, constant wars, uncontrolled climate. How did someone like you even get admitted?" Han forced a smile. "I guess they needed to fill their diversity quota." Somi laughed, a tinkling sound like wind chimes. "Don't mind Tai. His people think anyone who doesn't live in orbit is uncivilized. I'm looking forward to learning about Earth. Is it true you have actual oceans? with liquid water just sitting there? Before Han could answer, the classroom door opened again, and a new figure entered. This one was unlike any of the others. A floating mass of tentacles surrounding a central eye, with no discernible head or body. "Welcome, students," the creature said, its voice coming from a small translator device floating beside it. "I am Professor Do, and I will be your xenobiology instructor this term." The tentacles swirled as the massive eye fixed on Han. "Ah, our new human arrival. Fascinating. I've studied your species extensively. Such remarkable adaptations to an unstable environment." Han wasn't sure if that was a compliment. "Today we begin with physical assessments," Professor Do continued. "The Academy must calibrate its understanding of each student's capabilities." The professor led them to a large chamber filled with various equipment. Han recognized some pieces as similar to gym equipment on Earth, while others were completely alien. "We'll start with basic endurance," Professor Do announced. "Please step onto the treadmills." Han and his classmates each took position on a floating platform. As the test began, the platform started moving, forcing them to walk, then jog, then run. At first, everything seemed fine. But as the speed increased, Han noticed something strange. The others were struggling much sooner than he expected. Somi was the first to signal for a stop, breathing heavily after just a few minutes. June lasted a bit longer, but soon followed. Even Tae, who had been boasting about his physical superiority, was showing signs of strain. Han, meanwhile, felt like he was just warming up. "Remarkable," Professor Do said, tentacles writhing with excitement as the eye focused on Han's readings. "Your oxygen efficiency is extraordinary." "I'm not doing anything special," Han said, barely out of breath. "That's because your species evolved on a world with crushing gravity and dense nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere," the professor explained. "What feels normal to you would be extreme conditions for most spacefaring races." The other tests showed similar results. Han wasn't particularly athletic by Earth standards, just average. But here, his average strength was off the charts. His bone density, muscle mass, and reflexes all registered as exceptional. "I had no idea," Han said as they finished the assessments. Professor Do's eye gleamed with interest. "Few humans do. You evolve in isolation, assuming your conditions are normal. Most species in the galactic community come from worlds far more hospitable than yours." After the assessments, they returned to the classroom for their final assignment of the day. "Cultural exchange project," Professor Do announced. "Each of you will prepare a presentation about your homeworld. Help your classmates understand your species' unique perspective and challenges." As they left class, Somi fell into step beside Han. "That was impressive today. I never realized humans were so durable." Han shrugged. "I'm nothing special on Earth." "That's what makes it interesting," she said. "If you're average, what are your exceptional specimens like?" As they walked, Han noticed other Academy students giving him a wide berth in the hallway. Word had spread about his physical assessment results. "I think you're going to surprise a lot of people here," Somi said with a smile. Han looked around, at the gleaming technology, the diverse alien life forms, and the vast expanse of stars visible through the station's windows. "I think Earth is going to surprise them even more." A week passed at the Galactic Academy. Han spent most of his time studying the other species and trying to adjust to the strange food, odd sleeping hours, and the constant feeling that the gravity was just slightly wrong. Today was the day of the cultural presentations. Han sat near the back of the classroom as June walked to the front, his metallic blue skin shimmering under the lights. "Valaxi Prime is known for its perfect weather control systems," June began, showing images of beautiful blue skies and gentle rolling hills. "We haven't had an unplanned weather event in over 300 years. Our gravity is 0.7 standard units, and our atmosphere is a carefully balanced mixture of gases that promotes health and long life." Han watched as the other students nodded in appreciation. Next came Tay, who stood tall and proud. The cryogeny civilization evolved in near-zero gravity environments, he explained, displaying images of stunning crystal cities floating in space. We live in orbital habitats that offer perfect temperature, no diseases, and complete safety from natural disasters. Our bodies are adapted to conserve energy, which is why we excel at mental pursuits rather than wasteful physical activities. He shot Han a smug look at this last part. Han just smiled back. Somi's presentation showed her beautiful homeworld with its transparent oceans and gentle climate. On Nuterra, we have modified our planet to eliminate all dangerous creatures. Our children can play anywhere without fear. Finally, it was Han's turn. He walked to the front of the class, suddenly aware of how heavy his steps sounded compared to the others. Earth is... Han paused, realizing he needed to adjust his thinking. What was normal to him would sound very different to these students. Earth is what you might call a challenging environment. He displayed an image of Earth from space. Our gravity is about 1.2 standard units, which I've been told is unusually high. Our atmosphere is mostly nitrogen with enough oxygen to sustain us, though it would be toxic to some species here. Professor Doe's eye widened with interest, tentacles swirling faster. We have weather, Han continued, showing images of dark storm, clouds. But unlike Valaxi Prime, we don't control it. We get hurricanes, massive storms with winds strong enough to destroy buildings. He showed video of a hurricane from space, the massive swirling cloud system covering half a continent. You just let these happen? Asked Tay, looking genuinely shocked. We can't stop them, Han explained. We can only predict them and move people away. He continued with his presentation, showing images of Earth's varied environments. We have deserts where temperatures reach over 50 degrees during the day and drop below freezing at night. We have polar regions covered in ice and snow. We have active volcanoes that sometimes erupt, spewing molten rock. The classroom had gone completely silent. Our planet experiences regular earthquakes when pieces of our planet's crust shift and grind against each other. Sometimes these cause giant ocean waves called tsunamis that can wipe out coastal cities. And you still build cities on the coasts? Asked Somi, her translucent skin paling slightly. Of course, Han said. That's where the best fishing is. Fishing? June asked. Oh, right. We eat other animals from our planet. Some of them live in the oceans, which cover most of Earth's surface. Now the other students looked truly disturbed. Han realized he should move on. We also have seasons because our planet tilts as it orbits our sun. This means parts of Earth go from very hot to very cold throughout the year. Han showed images of the same location in different seasons, lush and green in summer, covered in meters of snow in winter. You live through both of these conditions? Asked Tay, his voice no longer haughty but filled with disbelief. Yes, said Han. We wear different clothes. The class laughed, but it was an uncomfortable sound. What about dangerous life forms? Asked Professor Doe, floating closer. Most evolved worlds have eliminated threats to sentient life. Well, Han said, Earth has quite a few dangerous animals and plants. We have large predators like bears, tigers, and sharks. We have venomous snakes and spiders that can kill with a single bite. We have microorganisms that cause diseases. He showed images of Earth's more dangerous creatures. The classroom erupted in questions. How do you survive? Do you have to fight these creatures? Why haven't you eliminated them? Han held up his hands. Most of these animals avoid humans if they can. And we work to preserve them, not eliminate them. They're important parts of our ecosystems. The concept of purposely preserving dangerous animals seemed to confuse everyone completely. But the most interesting part, Han continued, is what humans do for fun. He showed images of people mountain climbing without safety equipment, surfing giant waves, skydiving from planes, and running ultramarathons across scorching deserts. Wait, said Somi, her voice rising in pitch. These are recreational activities? You do these voluntarily? Sure, Han said with a shrug. Weekends would be boring otherwise. A complete silence fell over the classroom. Let me understand this, said June slowly. Your planet has crushing gravity, extreme weather, natural disasters, dangerous animals, and deadly diseases. And you choose to make your leisure activities even more dangerous? Han hadn't thought of it that way before. I guess we like challenges. Professor Doe's tentacles were now moving so fast, they were almost a blur. Fascinating. This explains your remarkable physical adaptations. Your species evolved with constant environmental pressure to become stronger, faster, and more durable. But we're not particularly special on Earth, Han explained. I'm pretty average, actually. Average for Earth, corrected Professor Doe, but extraordinary by galactic standards. The conditions you describe would be fatal to most spacefaring species. As the class ended, Han found himself surrounded by students asking questions about Earth. Even Tay seemed genuinely interested now, his earlier superiority replaced by a kind of horrified fascination. Is it true humans can break bones and just keep going? Someone asked. Sometimes, Han said. It depends on which bone. And you can lose blood and survive? Up to a certain amount, sure. Do you really sleep for hours at a time, completely defenseless? Han hadn't realized how many things he took for granted. Do you not sleep? As he answered their questions, Han noticed a change in how they looked at him. The initial curiosity or disdain had been replaced by something new. Was it respect, fear, both? Later, as he walked back to his quarters with Somi, she finally asked the question that seemed to be on everyone's mind. Don't you ever want to leave? Find a safer world? Han thought about Earth, its storms and earthquakes, its predators and diseases, its crushing gravity and extreme temperatures. But he also thought about its stunning beauty, its endless variety, and the thrill of facing its challenges. No, he said finally. It's home. Somi stared at him for a long moment, then shook her head in wonder. Humans are either the bravest or the craziest species I've ever met. I haven't decided which. Han just smiled. Maybe a little of both. 2 weeks after Han's presentation, things had changed at the academy. Some students now avoided him in the hallways, watching him with nervous eyes as if he might suddenly go wild. Others followed him around, asking endless questions about Earth. Somi had become his closest friend, her curiosity about humans seemingly endless. Only Tay and his friends remained openly hostile. Just because you can lift heavy things doesn't make your species advanced, Tay said one day in the dining hall. His friends laughed. Anyone can build muscles. True civilization is measured by how far you've moved beyond physical limitations. Han just shrugged and continued eating. The food at the academy was strange, nutritionally balanced but lacking any real flavor. He missed spicy Korean food. Ignore him, Somi said. He's just jealous because Professor Doe can't stop talking about human adaptability in class. This was true. The professor had taken a special interest in Han, often using him as an example during lectures. The human immune system, he would say, tentacles waving excitedly, can recognize and fight off millions of different pathogens. Most species require regular medical interventions to achieve half that capability. Today, however, was special. The Earth class was going on a field trip to study the geology of a nearby moon. Han was excited, his first trip off the Academy station since he'd arrived. The Zeta 9 moon has some unusual mineral formations, Professor Doe explained as they boarded the small shuttle. Its lack of atmosphere makes it ideal for observing raw planetary processes without erosion. Han, Somi, June, and Tay were joined by 4 other students from different classes, plus Professor Doe and another teacher named Professor Kim, a reptilian being with glittering scales. The shuttle ride was smooth until they neared the moon. Suddenly, warning lights flashed across the control panel. "Solar flare activity," Professor Kim announced, her scales changing color with concern. "Unexpected and quite powerful. We should return to the Academy." "The shuttle's navigation system is already affected," said the pilot, his four hands moving quickly over the controls. "We need to land now and wait it out." The landing was rough. The shuttle bounced twice before sliding to a stop in a large crater. Han felt fine, but looking around, he could see the others were shaken. Tay had been thrown from his seat and was holding his arm at an odd angle. "Status report," Professor Doe called out. "Life support systems damaged," the pilot answered. "Communications too. Backup power at 60%. "How long until the Academy realizes we're missing?" Han asked. "Standard protocol gives us 12 hours before they send a rescue team," Professor Kim said. "The solar activity may delay them further." Han looked around the shuttle. Most of the students looked scared. Professor Kim was trying to help Tay, who was clearly in pain. Professor Doe seemed concerned but calm. "The temperature regulation is failing," the pilot announced. "It's going to get very cold in here as we enter the moon's night cycle." "How cold?" asked Somi, her transparent skin already showing signs of stress darkening at the edges. "Below freezing within 3 hours," the pilot said. The heating elements were damaged in the landing. Han saw the fear spread through the group. For species adapted to perfectly controlled environments, this was a serious threat. "I can help," Han said, standing up. "This is nothing compared to winter camping on Earth." Everyone turned to look at him. "Professor Kim, let me see Tay's arm. I think it's dislocated." Han moved toward the injured student. "Don't touch me, human." Tay hissed, but his face showed pain. "I've had first aid training," Han explained. "On Earth, we don't always have medical technology nearby. Sometimes we have to help each other directly." Professor Kim hesitated, then nodded. "Our medical kit was damaged. If you can help..." Han gently examined Tay's arm. "It's dislocated at the shoulder. I can put it back, but it will hurt for a moment." "Just do it," Tay said through gritted teeth. Han quickly repositioned the arm, moving it in a careful arc until the joint popped back into place. Tay gasped, then sighed as the worst pain subsided. "How did you know how to do that?" "Professor?" Doe asked, floating closer. "Basic first aid," Han shrugged. "Now, we need to fix the temperature problem." Over the next hour, Han organized the group. He showed them how to use the shuttle's emergency blankets properly, layering them for maximum heat retention. He positioned the students in a way that shared body heat efficiently. He even found a way to redirect power from non-essential systems to maintain a small heating element near the most vulnerable students. As the temperature continued to drop, Han remained active while the others became sluggish. "Aren't you cold?" June asked, his metallic skin dulled by the freezing temperature. "This is about like autumn in Seoul," Han said. "I've gone skiing in much colder weather." When the temperature dropped further, Somi began to show signs of serious distress. Her species, Han learned, had evolved in warm waters and had little tolerance for cold. "She needs more heat," Han said. He removed his outer jacket and wrapped it around her. "But you'll freeze," Professor Kim protested. "Humans have good temperature regulation," Han explained, though he was now shivering slightly. "We can handle cold better than most species." 2 hours later, disaster struck again. Tay, despite his relocated arm, began showing signs of metabolic shutdown, a dangerous condition for his species in extreme cold. "He needs heat, real heat, not just insulation," Professor Doe said, tentacles moving slowly in the cold. "His body can't maintain its core temperature." Han remembered something from their geological briefing. "Aren't there geothermal vents on the far side of this crater? Volcanic heat might help." "Yes, but they're at least 3 kilometers away," said Professor Kim. "None of us can make that journey in these conditions." "I can," Han said, already standing. "Impossible," said the pilot. The temperature outside is nearly 100 degrees below freezing. No species can survive that. Humans go outside in -40 all the time, Hans said, though he knew this would be much worse. I'll need all the insulation materials you can spare. Despite protests, Han prepared for the journey. He wrapped himself in layers of emergency, blankets, and created a makeshift face mask. Professor Doe helped him lift the now unconscious Tay onto his back. If you don't return in 30 minutes, we'll assume the worst, Professor Kim said quietly. Han nodded and stepped through the airlock into the freezing dark of the moon's surface. The cold hit him like a physical blow. His breath froze instantly. In his mask. The weight of Tay on his back felt much lighter in the moon's low gravity, but walking through the rough terrain was difficult. He kept moving. On Earth, freezing to death was a real danger in many places. Han knew that stopping meant dying. 28 minutes later, just as the shuttle crew had given up hope, the communication system crackled to life. I found the vents, Han's voice came through, weak but triumphant. There's a small cave here, with heat. Tay is warming up. Send the others if you can, but bring a guideline. It's easy to get lost out here. Working together, they strung a safety line from the shuttle to the cave. One by one, the students and professors made their way to the geothermal area Han had found, where steam vents warmed the small space to a comfortable temperature. When Professor Doe finally reached the cave, he found Han sitting against a rock, still shivering but alert, with Tay resting beside him, color returning to his face. "How did you do it?" the professor asked. "Even with the lower gravity, carrying another person through those temperatures." Han smiled weakly. "On Earth, we have a saying, where there's a will, there's a way. When survival is at stake, humans find a way." As the others gathered in the relative warmth of the cave, they looked at Han with new eyes, not with fear or curiosity now, but with respect. "Perhaps," June said softly, "there is more to advancement than perfect environments and technology." Han was too tired to reply, but he smiled as Somi wrapped an emergency blanket around his shoulders. For the first time since arriving at the academy, he felt like he truly belonged. After the meteor storm, Jiho was no longer just the Earth boy. Now everyone knew his name. The students who once laughed behind his back now wanted to sit near him. They asked him questions, begged for more stories, and followed him through the halls of Celestis Academy like he was a famous hero. Jiho didn't understand the attention at first. Back on Earth, surviving storms and fixing things was just life. But here, in this safe and clean academy, those things were amazing to others. One afternoon, Professor Teenal came to Jiho after class. "Jiho, I want you to teach a lesson," he said. "Me? Teach?" Jiho was surprised. "Yes," the professor said. "Just talk about Earth. Your experience can help the others learn what real danger is." So Jiho stood in front of the class the next day. He looked at the students. Many of them had grown up on peaceful planets. Some had never seen fire outside a fireplace. Others had never been sick or cold. Jiho spoke slowly and clearly. "On Earth, we had earthquakes, big ones. The ground would move, houses would fall. We had to learn where to hide. We had to build stronger homes." The students listened carefully. Once, there was a snowstorm so strong that people were trapped in their homes for days, Jiho continued. "We had to dig out or we couldn't get food. Power would go out. Heat would stop. You had to stay warm or you could freeze." One student raised her hand. "What did you eat during that?" "Canned food, sometimes old bread," Jiho answered. "And we made fires to stay warm." The class was silent. Jiho shared more stories. Tornadoes, floods, wildfires, even poisonous insects. He told them about his uncle who had to swim through a flooded street to save an old woman. He told them about his cousin who learned first aid because ambulances couldn't always come in time. "On Earth," Jiho said, You don't wait for help. You become the help. After class, Mira walked with Jiho through the garden. You're amazing, she said. I had no idea your world was so tough. Jiho shrugged. We don't think about it. It's just life. You grow up learning what to do. You help your neighbors. You fix things when they break. You prepare. Because if you don't, you suffer. Later that week, the Academy held a student culture night. Each group of students from different planets shared stories, songs, or food. Jiho didn't plan to join. He sat in the back, just watching. Then someone shouted, Jiho, tell us another Earth story. More students clapped and chanted his name. Jiho stood up slowly and walked to the stage. He looked at all the eyes watching him. He took a deep breath. This story is about a boy and a fire, he began. There was a small house on the edge of the city. A fire started in the kitchen. The boy was the only one awake. He woke his family, grabbed a fire extinguisher, and got everyone out safely. He was 13. Was that you? Someone asked. Jiho nodded. Yes, it wasn't special. It's what anyone on Earth would do. The room was quiet. Then someone started clapping. Soon, everyone stood up and clapped. Some students wiped tears from their eyes. After the event, the dean of the academy came to speak with Jiho. You've shown this academy something we've never seen before, the dean said. Courage. Not the kind from battle, but from survival. Would you like to represent Earth in the student council? Jiho blinked. Me? Why me? Because you've earned respect, not just from humans, but from students across the galaxy. Jiho agreed. Soon Jiho was working with students from other planets. He helped create better safety plans for the academy. He led new survival training lessons. He showed others how to work together in tough situations. He shared tips, taught basic first aid, and even made a list of Earth rules for survival. He became a leader, not because he wanted power, but because he cared. One night, Jiho and Mira sat on the grass, looking up at the stars. Do you ever think about Earth? Mira asked softly. Jiho nodded. I think about it every day. I miss the trees, the smell of rain, the sound of dogs barking. I even miss the noise of the city. Do you want to go back? Someday, Jiho said, but right now, I think I'm needed here. Mira smiled. We need you. You're the strongest student in the galaxy. Jiho laughed. I'm just a guy from a rough planet. No, Mira said. You're Earth's heart, and now you're part of our world too. Jiho looked at the stars. He remembered his childhood, running through muddy streets, helping neighbors during storms, building small shelters in the woods for fun. He had no superpowers. He wasn't a soldier or a scientist, but he was human, and that was enough.